we will never be counted out. Because that is worth gold. That is worth gold. Kels, goddamn baby. Put us on your back. Yep. Oh. You are the consummate professional. We love you. We appreciate you. Yep. You were huge. AB, point forward. And like, look, you can't underestimate what it means to have somebody like her who just does whatever we ask, right? Does whatever. I mean, everybody really. Lex, that was a huge. Toss your activity all night long, and that's what it's gonna take. Okay, that's what it's gonna take. We gotta play free. We gotta play with no pressure, but we fight. Live that resilience every day, and we will accomplish what we want to accomplish. Okay, come on.
Yeah. Here we go. Together, 3, 1, 2, 3. Together.
What you just heard wasn't just celebration. It was the sound of a conspiracy unraveling in real time. While everyone was watching Kelsey Mitchell drop 38 points and break Tamika Catching's franchise record, they missed the digital breadcrumbs leading to one of the most suspicious MVP campaigns in WNBA history. I'm Jackson Riley, and I've been filtering through the noise of this Indiana Fever comeback story, and the signals point to something way deeper than anyone's covering. Because here's what the other channels won't tell you. The timing of Mitchell's career night and the sudden explosion of MVP endorsements isn't coincidence. It's coordination. Before we connect these dots, let me know you're part of the narrative analyst community by hitting that subscribe button. We're the ones asking the questions mainstream media avoids. So here's the roadmap for what we're uncovering today. First, the suspicious timing of celebrity endorsements that appeared within hours of Mitchell's performance. Second, the digital campaign that's been building in the shadows while everyone focused on Caitlin Clark's injury. And third, the leaked information that suggests this MVP push has been orchestrated for weeks. But let's start with what happened on the court, because you need to see this performance to understand why powerful people suddenly decided Kelsey Mitchell needed to be MVP.
Second half, you get 34 of your points just the last after halftime. What took over you? How did you get it done on the floor?
I think it was more about what we did from a standpoint of like the mindset and the mentality from half to half. It sucked for me first half. It just wasn't, and I think that, it wasn't as well for our group, but the resiliency is true in our room. Seeing Soph go down and then knowing what happened with Sid and knowing what happened with Eric, and then knowing what happened with Cece, it's like, I think a lot of it was just God and being able to like stay prepared and stay in your mental state to be able to compete. But I really think that that's the most resilient that we've ever been because of everything we've been through. So I think a lot of it you just tap into your team and you just love on your team, and I think great things can happen.
I don't even think there are any words. I mean, when you look at Kelsey's play and you look at what she means to the squad, coming out in that second half and going off the way that she did, I think it kind of speaks for her case in general. She comes out, she defends, she scores the ball, she plays 40 minutes a game. And it's just like, and she still consistently puts up these numbers. I feel like if she's not MVP, shoot.
MVP is crazy. I don't even have thought about that.
That's the moment everything changed. Lexi Hull's dagger three-pointer that sealed the largest comeback in Fever franchise history. But what you didn't hear in that audio was the conversation happening on the bench. Players already talking MVP, already planning the social media strategy that would launch within hours. The official narrative is simple. Sophie Cunningham gets injured, team rallies, Mitchell has career night, everyone celebrates. But when you follow the digital breadcrumbs, a different picture emerges. I've been reading the signals across platforms, and here's what's really happening. This wasn't just a spontaneous MVP conversation. This was the culmination of a strategic campaign that's been building since Caitlin Clark went down with her groin injury. Let's break down the timeline, because the temperature of the online conversation tells us everything. July 15th, Clark gets injured in that controversial play with the Connecticut Sun. Within 48 hours, there are already whispers in WNBA circles about Mitchell's MVP candidacy. Not from fans, from industry insiders. But the story doesn't end there, Because while Mitchell was putting up MVP numbers all season, something changed in the weeks leading up to this Connecticut Sun game. Suddenly, high-profile endorsements started surfacing. Tamika Catchings posting about Mitchell's consistency, Dawn Staley making on-air comments about her MVP case. And here's where it gets interesting. I've been connecting the dots through social media patterns, and these endorsements weren't random. They followed a strategic rollout that coordinated with key games and voting deadlines.
Sophie Cunningham, writhing around in pain, definitely hurt, and Sophie's one tough cookie. If Sophie's kicking and screaming like this, no Will Farrell. She's in pain. We even have Connecticut Sun players, look at that, Connecticut Sun players, Connecticut Sun training staff coming up to her as the fever starts making their way down.
Listen to that again. I feel like if she's not MVP, MVP is crazy. That's not spontaneous reaction, that's talking points. These players knew exactly what narrative they were pushing, and they knew when to push it. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with campaigning for your teammate, that's normal. But the sophistication of this rollout suggests something bigger, and the smoking gun came in what happened immediately after the game. Coach White's authentic shock and vulnerability here actually supports our theory. She's not part of the inner circle orchestrating this MVP campaign. She's genuinely focused on managing an injury crisis and winning games. But while she's dealing with crisis management, there's a parallel operation running to position Mitchell for individual recognition. And that brings us to the inevitable question, who's really behind this MVP push, and why did they choose this specific moment to activate it? Okay, now let's get into speculation territory. Nothing is officially confirmed, but the online chatter is too loud to ignore. Multiple sources in WNBA circles have suggested that Mitchell's representation has been working behind the scenes to build her MVP case for months. Not unusual. But what's unusual is the coordination with league insiders and former players. The signals suggest this campaign got turbocharged when Clark's injury became long-term. Suddenly, the narrative shifted from Clark's supporting cast to Mitchell's been carrying this team all along, and that narrative required celebrity validation to gain mainstream traction. Let's examine the evidence. Tamika Catchings' endorsement didn't just praise Mitchell's current season, it specifically highlighted her consistency and longevity, exactly the argument you'd make against other MVP candidates who've had better individual games but less sustained excellence. Dawn Staley's on-air advocacy focused on Mitchell's two-way impact and leadership. Again, specific talking points that address perceived weaknesses in her MVP case compared to other candidates. But here's what really raises suspicions. The timing of Caitlin Clark's social media endorsement. 2 words, MVP Kelsey, posted immediately after the game, at peak engagement time with no additional context. That's not spontaneous teammate support, that's strategic amplification designed for maximum viral spread. I've been following digital breadcrumbs in this space for years, and organic teammate endorsements look different. They're longer, more personal, include specific game references. Clark's post was pure signal boosting, the kind you do when you're part of a coordinated strategy.
So proud of you. I'm proud of you too. I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. Yeah. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. You never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
That locker room speech reveals something crucial. This team has been building towards something bigger than just playoff positioning. It's how we live. That's not just about resilience, that's about identity. And Mitchell's MVP campaign is part of establishing that identity. But the sophistication of this campaign becomes clear when you look at the platform-specific adaptations, different messaging for different audiences, all coordinated to reinforce the same central narrative. Kelsey Mitchell has been the real MVP all along, and this performance proved it. The Reddit discussions started focusing on Mitchell's advanced metrics and clutch performance in key games. The TikTok content emphasized her consistency and work ethic. The Twitter conversation highlighted her leadership during Clark's absence, each platform getting targeted messaging designed to build the MVP case among different demographic groups. And here's where the conspiracy elements really emerge. Because while all this digital campaigning was happening, voting deadlines were approaching, and certain industry insiders seemed to know exactly when to apply pressure for maximum impact. Official sources won't tell you this, but if you follow the digital breadcrumbs, a different picture emerges. The MVP voting process has always been influenced by narrative timing and media campaigning. But this level of coordination across multiple platforms and celebrity endorsers is unprecedented for a mid-tier MVP candidate. That brings us to the question everyone's asking but no one's answering. Did Mitchell's 38-point explosion happen at the perfect time by accident, or was this whole situation engineered to create the ideal MVP moment? Coach White's unfiltered reaction to Sophie's injury reveals the authentic chaos this team was dealing with. Holy shit! That's not someone who's part of a calculated MVP campaign. That's someone genuinely struggling to manage crisis after crisis while trying to win basketball games. But while Coach White was dealing with immediate problems, there's evidence that other people around the organization were thinking much more strategically about individual recognition and narrative positioning. Let's break down the psychological elements that make this conspiracy theory so compelling. First, the David versus Goliath narrative. Mitchell performing heroics while understaffed creates natural sympathy that MVP voters respond to. Second, the succession storyline. Proving the Fever can be elite even without their superstar addresses long-term sustainability concerns that matter to basketball insiders. Third, and most importantly, the authenticity factor. Mitchell's performance didn't feel manufactured or forced. It felt like natural leadership stepping up in crisis. That authenticity is crucial for MVP credibility, and it's exactly what a sophisticated campaign would try to manufacture. I've been connecting the dots across social media conversations, and the patterns suggest this MVP push was designed to peak right at voting deadline. The celebrity endorsements, the strategic game selection, the coordinated social media amplification, it all points to people who understand how MVP politics actually work.
Every day in our huddle, that's what we say together. And it's just more than words for us. I think when you see things happening, there's no other way. If you spread apart, the season goes down quicker than anything else. And we talk about with the injuries, people are probably expecting us to just fold, just like you said, and that's not us. We come in the locker room and we're motivated. We continue to be motivated every single time we step on that floor. At halftime, we're motivated, chip away, and that's our mindset. And just continue to uplift people. When one person goes down, we say it all the time, the next woman stands up. And that's really just been our motto and been what we've had to do a lot this season, and that's what we're just going to continue to do.
This team unity message is powerful because it feels completely authentic. The next woman stands up. That's not campaign rhetoric. That's genuine organizational culture. And that authenticity is exactly what makes Mitchell's MVP case so compelling to voters who want to reward character and leadership. But here's the thing about successful conspiracy theories. They work best when they amplify something that's already true. Mitchell genuinely has been excellent all season. She genuinely stepped up during Clark's absence. She genuinely deserves MVP consideration. The question is whether that consideration got strategic amplification at exactly the right moment. The temperature of the online conversation suggests that powerful people in WNBA circles have been building this narrative for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment to activate it. And a 38-point career-high performance in a historic comeback against the league's most hated team? That's pretty close to the perfect moment. So what's fact and what's speculation? Let's break it down scientifically. The facts. Mitchell scored 38 points, set franchise records, received immediate celebrity endorsements, and generated massive social media momentum for her MVP case, all documented and verifiable. The speculation. This sequence was orchestrated by her representation working with league insiders to maximize MVP voting impact. The timing was strategic rather than coincidental. The celebrity endorsements were coordinated rather than organic. Reading the signals from industry conversations, the speculation has enough supporting evidence to merit serious consideration. Multiple sources suggest MVP campaigns have become increasingly sophisticated, with representation firms working directly with former players and media personalities to shape narratives. And that brings us to the inevitable question that's driving this entire conversation. If Mitchell's MVP campaign is this sophisticated, what does that tell us about how individual awards actually get decided in the modern WNBA? The answer isn't pretty, because what we're potentially seeing is the professionalization of award campaigning in a way that transforms individual recognition from pure merit-based selection to strategic narrative management. I've been filtering through the noise of MVP discussions across platforms, and there's a clear divide. Casual fans focus on stats and highlights. Industry insiders focus on narrative timing and campaign effectiveness. The sophistication gap suggests that votes might be influenced by factors that have nothing to do with on-court performance. But here's what the other channels won't tell you. This conspiracy theory actually makes Mitchell's achievement more impressive, not less. Because if there really is a coordinated campaign behind her MVP push, that means powerful people believe she genuinely deserves the recognition. You don't launch sophisticated campaigns for players who can't deliver. Coach White's strategic complexity here reveals why Mitchell's MVP case resonates with basketball insiders. Managing this level of adversity while maintaining competitive excellence requires exactly the kind of leadership and adaptability that MVP voters reward. Those aren't qualities you can manufacture through campaigning. The meta-narrative we're really discussing isn't about corruption or rigging. It's about recognition timing and amplification strategy. Mitchell's performance speaks for itself. The question is whether that performance got strategic positioning to maximize its impact on MVP voters. And honestly, that might be exactly what WNBA award recognition needs, because if the best players aren't getting appropriate recognition due to poor narrative management, then strategic campaigning actually serves the interests of competitive fairness. That's the paradox at the heart of this conspiracy theory. If it's true, it might be making MVP voting more accurate, rather than less accurate, by ensuring that deserving candidates get appropriate consideration at the right time. But pulling the thread further reveals something even more interesting about the psychology of WNBA fandom, and why this conspiracy theory gained traction so quickly. Fans want to believe their favorite players are part of something bigger than individual achievement. They want to believe there's sophisticated strategy behind the success they're witnessing. The MVP conspiracy gives Mitchell's heroics additional meaning by suggesting she's not just having a great season, she's the centerpiece of a carefully orchestrated recognition campaign. That psychological need for deeper meaning explains why this narrative resonated so powerfully across platforms. It transforms a career-high-scoring performance into evidence of systematic excellence that industry insiders have been recognizing all along. The digital detective work I've been doing reveals that WNBA fans are increasingly sophisticated about understanding the business and politics behind individual recognition. They don't just want great performances, they want to understand how those performances get positioned for maximum impact. And that sophistication creates demand for exactly the kind of meta-narrative analysis we're doing here. Because connecting the dots between on-court achievement and strategic campaigning gives fans insight into how professional sports actually operates behind the scenes. So what's the ultimate conclusion? The evidence suggests that Mitchell's MVP campaign combines genuine excellence with strategic amplification. The conspiracy elements aren't about manufacturing false narratives, they're about maximizing the impact of authentic achievement. That might actually be the ideal outcome for individual award recognition. Because if the best players get strategic support to ensure their accomplishments receive appropriate attention, then sophisticated campaigning serves the interests of competitive merit rather than undermining it. The final piece of evidence comes from what happened after the game. Instead of traditional celebration, there was immediate strategic messaging about MVP consideration. Instead of focusing purely on team achievement, there was coordinated individual recognition campaign. That level of preparation suggests people who were ready to capitalize on exactly this kind of performance.
We will never be counted out, because that is worth gold. That is worth gold. Kels, goddamn baby. Put us on your back. Yep. Oh. You are the consummate professional. We love you. We appreciate you. Yep. You were huge. AB, point forward. And like, look, you can't underestimate what it means to have somebody like her who just does whatever we ask, right? Does whatever. I mean, everybody really. Lex, that was a huge. Toss your activity all and that's what it's gonna take. Okay, that's what it's gonna take. We gotta play free. We gotta play with no pressure, but we fight live that resilience every day, and we will accomplish what we want to accomplish. Okay, come on.
Listen to that celebration again, with everything we've uncovered in mind. MVP is crazy isn't just teammate support, it's validation of a campaign that's been building for weeks, finally getting the performance moment it needed to achieve maximum credibility. Whether you call it conspiracy or just smart representation, the evidence suggests that Kelsey Mitchell's MVP recognition is getting exactly the kind of strategic support that championship-level players deserve. And honestly, that might be exactly what the league needs to ensure that individual excellence gets appropriate recognition in an increasingly complex media landscape. The broader implications reach far beyond just this MVP race, because what we're potentially witnessing is the evolution of how individual achievement gets positioned and recognized in professional women's basketball. And that evolution might be exactly what's necessary to ensure that great players get the credit they've earned. The conspiracy isn't about rigging votes, it's about strategic timing, narrative amplification, and ensuring that excellence gets recognized when it matters most. And based on everything we've uncovered, Kelsey Mitchell's MVP campaign represents exactly that kind of sophisticated excellence recognition. So the next time you see a seemingly spontaneous explosion of support for an individual award candidate, remember what we learned here. Sometimes the most authentic moments are also the most strategically positioned, and sometimes that's exactly what authentic excellence deserves. That's the real story behind Kelsey Mitchell's 38-point explosion and the MVP campaign that followed. Not corruption or rigging, but strategic recognition of genuine achievement at exactly the right moment to maximize its impact. The digital breadcrumbs led us to a truth that's actually more inspiring than the conspiracy theory. Great players with great representation can ensure their excellence gets the recognition it deserves. And in Kelsey Mitchell's case, that recognition might be exactly what she's earned through a season of consistent excellence under impossible circumstances. What do you think? Are we seeing sophisticated award campaigning, or just organic recognition of genuine MVP-level performance? Let me know in the comments. The narrative analyst community thrives on exactly these kinds of strategic discussions. If this investigation into MVP politics caught your attention, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're the ones connecting dots that mainstream coverage misses. And if you want to see more digital detective work around WNBA meta-narratives, check out the video on screen where we break down the Connecticut Sun villain era that's driving unprecedented engagement across platforms. Until next time, keep reading the signals and following the breadcrumbs. The real stories are always hiding in plain sight.